Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds in 3 years. If you'd like to join the family, hit that subscribe button down below. Also, click on the bell icon so you can get alerted when I go live or post new videos. If you'd like to participate on the discussion, you can join me most weekdays on YouTube, where I go live around 4 p.m. Central Time. Or outside of the live stream, you could consider joining the Discord that I created. There's a link for that down in the description below. Also down in the description below is a link to a Pinterest board. Many times people ask me what meals or what things we are enjoying on our diet, or what are we eating to lose weight. And that Pinterest board is a great place to find a lot of our family's favorite whole food, plant-based recipes, or that we like to make. Today is day 797 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. I've used a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet to lose over 235 pounds so far. I have about just under 10 months left to go on my challenge. I'm excited to reach my goal and to live the rest of my life at a healthy weight. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your non-scale victories. If you have any on-scale victories, I'd love to hear those as well. If you are succeeding with your diet, let us know what you're doing to succeed. If you're struggling, let us know what you think is causing your struggles. And at the end of the day, what are you going to do that will make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? Go ahead, switch over to the main picture here. Hello, hello, hello. I hope everybody had a great evening last night. Getting ready for the weekend coming up. I am going to be doing it solo here. Carrie had to go out of town and she took the kids with her, so I'm going to be home alone for the weekend. I will probably use it as an opportunity to rest up from the surgery, maybe get a little bit of work done, and get things the best I can get things done. But with only having one arm, I do have a little bit of a built-in excuse to not get anything done, right? So but yeah, I'm looking forward to a little bit quieter weekend than normally, but I'm sure I'll end up missing the family terribly. So we're going to go ahead, talk about food since yesterday. Let's see, last night we got home I got home for dinner, and we had one of our favorites, one of the regular things that we've been eating on our diet. And I'm sure once I said it was one of our favorites, everybody knew I was talking about something other than that. Let me try this again while I try to restart this here. Second time's a charm. Maybe. Gonna come up. Eventually, we will see what we had for dinner. There it is. It's white bean and polenta. This was dinner last night. Absolutely one of my favorite recipes that we have currently. I had very, very healthy portions of this last night. This was the first serving here. I took a few photos, and then this was the second serving. I don't know if you can tell, but this is just overflowing with polenta and white beans and just a massive amount of food. So that was dinner for last night. And then another thing that I didn't take any photos of, but I did have a lot of last night, were some oranges. We love those little tangerine or mandarin oranges. They seem to be in season right now. And so I did have a bunch of oranges last night that are not photoed here. And then for breakfast this morning, we had our standard oatmeal with spinach and mushrooms and onions in there. And then I actually was at work by myself today. I didn't have Carrie in here to help with food, and so I actually have not eaten any lunch today. I'm doing fine though, and I'm looking forward to the food I have waiting for me at home when I do finally get home. Um, Something that I mentioned the Discord. Carrie had posted a couple photos on the Discord, and I'll probably I'll show these. I'll pull these up here real quick because Carrie has been getting ready for this trip this weekend, and to make things easier for me and everything, she has spent a lot of time making up some food. So she had posted this on the Discord here, that she said that she took the afternoon to make up some meals for the one-armed man while she's away this weekend. And then she said, how lucky are we that we get to eat such beautiful colors every day? No more brown meals. Yes, it's amazing how colorful and how wonderfully vibrant the food is that we eat now. There still is some brown food in our diet, but it's not the bulk of our food like it used to be. You know, the something I've said many times before is that the we're attracted to colors. We want, you know, like the fact that we can see color variation is kind of evidence that there's some sort of need for that ability to see color variation, because if there wasn't a need for it, then we wouldn't have developed it, or it wouldn't make it wouldn't continue to be an attribute that everybody would have, I guess. But we're designed to love these beautiful colors. We're designed to see red apples and think of food, and orange carrots, and these bright fruits that are hanging from these trees, and we can disseminate, we can see the difference between the fruit and the tree. And that's the way that we're developed. That's what we are, our instincts are. And what, holy cow. Cindy Davis, thank you so much. Cindy Davis just donated $20 to the channel. I appreciate it so much. I don't know if anything pops up on the screen with this. It might show in the live chat. I just set up all of this stuff, so I really appreciate it. That's amazing, Cindy. That's awesome. Yes, I had set up a few different things just because I was able to monetize the channel. And I think that's a super sticker then. That's awesome. I appreciate it. That's so cool. But we get to, Sydney says to go get myself some more taters. Yes, I can get a lot of taters for that too. That's amazing. And it's amazing how expensive some food's getting. And because we were just talking the other day about how much we've been eating broccoli, and how one bag of broccoli isn't enough for us anymore. And so now we've doubled our broccoli for our lunch costs. Our lunch cost is nearly doubled because we're now eating 2 bags of broccoli instead of 1. And that means that it's 97 cents more for our lunch because we're eating twice as much broccoli. But a whole pound of broccoli is only 97 cents. That's pretty good value for price when you compare it to lots of other things. Carrie checking in saying, hey, Carrie. Hope everything's going okay at home, getting ready for the trip. I know I was just on the phone with her before I started the stream, and she was trying to round up the cats, or round up the kids. I mean, not the cats, but it's like rounding up cats. And so, yes, just listening in today. But I was talking about the food. You've posted those photos on the Discord and how pretty and amazing that food looks, and how bright and vibrant it is. And how that's natural. Like, we're naturally attracted to bright, vibrant colors. And it's because instinctually, when we see those colors, we think of food. And that is how we, that's how we evolved. But what the marketers have done and the companies have done is they know that we want to see the colors. The problem is that the food that they're producing isn't colored like our eyes want. A lot of the food that we're getting now is brown. And so I've said in the past, we have to stop buying brown food because it's in red and yellow and blue packages. And that's something that I really appreciate about this diet is the fact that we're buying food for actually how the food looks. Most of, everything that I've showed you in those two photos from the Discord is all stuff that we got from the produce aisle of the grocery store. It's not stuff that's hidden inside of a box. And we pick it out based on how it looks visually to us. And that's why they don't put carrots in a box. They come bagged together, but it's a clear bag. So you can inspect the food to make sure that you don't have a bunch that's moldy or that isn't appealing. Oranges and potatoes are all the same way. They're in sacks that you can see through, so you're not getting no worries. Tennis and Yoga Girl, happy to have you here. I got started late actually, so I'm really only about 10 minutes into the stream. Work was busy, but all the food that we're eating now is naturally vibrant, naturally colorful, and it's really awesome to see the difference in the food, and by eating that food, feeling the difference that it is throughout my body. And it's been fun figuring it out and realizing that it's so much more enjoyable to just eat the rainbow instead of buying boxes that are the color of the rainbow and then just eating brown all the time, and really, like, it's something that I even knew before I started this, that that brown food is not the most appealing, or that it's generally not the best for you, because most of the time it's fried food, I guess, or it's generally the food tends to be fried when it's brown food, but you could go to a restaurant. I would go to a restaurant and my whole plate would be brown. It would be French fries and chicken nuggets and yeah, everything was just brown, brown, brown. So yes, it's nice to be eating the rainbow. Hello, Stephanie. Hope everything's going good for you today. I hope you're getting ready for the weekend here. One of the things that I was going to talk about today here is make staying on your diet easier than the alternative. Something that I say every single day on my stream. I ask, what are you doing to make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? Because I think that it is one of the biggest places where people fail. People fail on their diets because they're not making it easier to stay on their diet than the alternative. So, for example, this weekend, we have kind of a busy weekend where I'm going to be at home by myself. Carrie's going to be traveling with the kids. And thankfully, Carrie has taken care of a lot of the prep for this weekend. But a big part about me getting through this weekend is having the food available. If I didn't have food that was appetizing or food to eat in my pantry, then I would have to go to the next location for food, or I'd have to go to another option for food. So in order to make staying on your diet easier than the alternative, you have to have some sort of pre-planning about your food. You have to have something, you have to have food in your future, and you have to have it accessible to you and make it easier, because when it's easier to just go to the drive-through, then eventually you're going to succumb to that temptation of just going to the drive-through. But if you make sure that your pantry's full of fresh fruits and vegetables, and you have plenty of ingredients for your favorite recipes in the pantry, or you take the time to do that meal prep. A lot of people suggest taking one day of the weekend and using that, taking some time and actually putting together some bulk meals so that throughout the week you have something to eat that you can put in the freezer or do. Um, and Stephanie here's asking, what are some of the items you will be enjoying over the weekend? So this weekend, I know I have oatmeal pre-cooked. That way I don't have to worry about making the oatmeal. Spanish rice and beans set up to go for meals on Saturday or Sunday. And then I don't know that there's a mushroom sauce, like a mushroom gravy that Carrie makes. And I don't think it's bolognese, but it's like a French word that you just take and we mix it with potatoes. And that's one of the other recipes that she had got ready or prepared for the weekend. And Cindy here says that that's what she loves about the whole food plant-based soups and stews is that you can make a huge pot of it and then split it out and it can be used for several servings or several meals. Yes, that's something that I don't know exactly how food spoilage and things like that work completely, but I do find that I'm less concerned about our leftovers going bad right away. Like I feel like when we had dairy and meat products in our leftovers, that maybe they were more apt to going bad or rotting quicker than the recipes that we eat now, because there's been obviously times when food's been in the fridge or been put away for too long, but there's been a few times where it's lasted longer than I anticipated it to last. And I feel like some of that might be because it's all natural foods and it's not a bunch of this processed stuff, or it's not a lot of dairy and cheese and things like that will go bad. So I lost my train of thought. Getting ready, staying on your diet, easier than the alternative. This weekend, Carrie did a lot of prep for me to make me staying on the diet much easier than the alternative. I do worry though for her. I don't know what work Carrie did for herself to make staying on her diet easier than the alternative. The fortunate thing is that her parents do eat a very similar way to us. So she'll have access to lots of the ingredients that we have access to up here, and she'll make it work. Produce Not Pills says, did you weigh in at 519 at a doctor's office? I did not. I weighed in on a scale in my old building. I think it was the same scale I have now. I'm almost positive. Yeah, it's the exact same scale. It's the same scale that I use to weigh in on now. So I never went to the doctor when I was heavier. I did get on a scale at a doctor's office. It's one of the stories I've shared in the past. And so the highest weight I saw like at a doctor's scale was 515 pounds. And then I actually, when I first started planning for this challenge, I was actually heavier than 520 pounds. And if I'd have weighed in like day one of planning all of this, I would have been maybe 4 to 5 pounds heavier than actually when I started. So, but I did not do it at, produce. Yeah. So they make an at-home scale, and that was something that it took me a bit to find, or, you have to make that leap into even buying a scale. And then you have the, oh my gosh, am I going to find one, that does a high enough weight? And if I do find one that does a high enough weight, how much am I going to have to spend? And So I ended up finding, it's called the Eat Smart, EATSMART Precision 550. It's a extra high capacity scale. Let me see here. This is just, I don't know how much of this is going to show. I don't want it to show a bunch of my private stuff. So let me see if it will or not. But if you're looking for a scale that is going to weigh a heavier person, I do recommend this scale. Let me scroll that down a bit here. This is the Eat Smart. Oh, I must have. Eat Smart Precision 550 pound scale. It is $45. So it's actually a pretty good price for a scale that does up to, I think it was 550 pounds. I think that's why it's called the 550. It's a 500. Well, it says 500 pound scale here, but I know it did more than 500 pounds. Okay, it does have accurate weight of up to 550 pounds. So yes, that is the scale that I've been using. It's finicky, I guess. I mean, it's not going to be as good as maybe the best scales you're going to find out there, but it's still a good scale. And then, what meals, Nicole's asking here, what meals do you find keep you the fullest, the longest? Oh, that's a tough one. I, I eat so much at each meal, I feel like, but I probably get, I don't know that I have one that I would say makes me feel the full, the longest, but I haven't really, I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know that there's a specific one that makes me feel more full than others. It's really just a volume thing, like that meal, that white bean and polenta. I was so full after I had that last night, but I ate a ridiculous amount of it. I probably had two pounds or 2.5 pounds of just that food last night. So it was so yeah, I mean, it's the meal that you'll eat the most of, I guess. But then there's been meals where I was worried I wasn't going to be full. Like we had the beet burgers the other day that I ended up having 3 of those, and I felt pretty full after eating them. So I don't know if there's a specific one, maybe the white bean. I feel pretty full after I eat salads too, but the salads I eat, I don't eat with any dressing on them, and they're very large and very satisfying. By the time I finish a salad, I am stuffed full as well. Produce.pills asks, do you think that your starting point was buying a scale? And have I tried Japanese sweet potatoes? Yes, sweet potatoes are really good. The Japanese sweet potatoes are really good. We've had them a few times. There's a like a roasted chickpea recipe I'm thinking of off the top of my head that I really enjoyed that we had on the sweet potatoes. But you're asking, the buying the scale was the starting point. Yeah. That's something too that it's, when I think of my starting point, I always think of it being November 1st, 2020. And when I talk about getting started, I recommend to people that you get started right now. And something that I am realizing, or also part of it, is that, like, if you set a date, let's say you decide to start on February 1st or January 10th is your start date. The start date isn't necessarily the day you start your diet, but the day you start the planning, because if you say you're going to start Monday, and I did this a million times in my life where I said, I'm going to start Monday, and I didn't do a single thing to get ready for Monday. I'm going to start Monday. Monday is going to be the start time, so I'll worry about it Monday. But I didn't do anything to get ready for Monday. So when Monday rolls around, it makes it really easy to not do anything because you're not invested in it, you know? Whereas like when this challenge, I decided to start date of November 1st, but it was probably even before getting the scale. If I really had to say a start date, like it was the creating of the channel, buying the scale. Those things all kind of happened maybe within 24 hours of each other or very quickly of it. But yeah, the start date would more be when I actually started doing the work. And you said here that the scale is just a tool. Yeah, it's so that's why I don't worry about my scale being super accurate or consistent, because it's just a tool I'm using to observe my weight loss, but it's not what's causing my weight loss. You know, it's the diet is what's causing my weight loss. Tennyson Euro Girl and Bar both say here that potatoes are what fills them up. So lots of potatoes. Yes, I do find that the potatoes also fill me up, you know, but I'm a big volume eater. I'm a big fan of eating a volume of food, and I found that it's been doing really well for me. Produce nuts pills. What's my favorite starch? Well, it's gonna be the potato. I think I'm gonna have to go with that as my favorite starch. So, um, an interesting thing about prior to this diet, I would eat lots of potatoes, just like everybody else, but I would never eat rice. I would absolutely avoid rice at all costs. From the time I was a little kid, I can remember my mom and my sister trying to get me to eat rice, and they would take it and they would put sugar and cinnamon and milk in it and just anything they could think of to get me to eat rice. And I just never would eat it. And I always held on to that, you know, and I never really adjusted that as I got older. So I always, if there was rice as an option, I got it without rice. Or like when I go to Chinese restaurants, I have you get fried rice with your meals. I would always substitute for a lo mein noodle. And even if it cost me money, I would substitute for a lo mein noodle. So I never ate rice. And now within a single week, I eat more rice each week than I ate in my life combined up to that point. So I do really love brown rice as well. But potatoes definitely are going to have to be my my go-to starch, because you know, just a big bowl of potatoes and broccoli is always good. It's always good. Stephanie says, do you and your wife have a blog with your recipes from foods you prepare? We do not. The best place to see the recipes that we prepare is going to be on the Pinterest board if you want to see the recipes. And then on my daily live streams, I kind of show photos of that. I thought about maybe putting together a montage of all of the food pics I have, because it's like I have whatever hundreds or thousands of photos in my camera or on my phone, but in the last 2 years, like 75% of the photos I take in a day are food photos. So I have lots of food photos that I should put together and maybe get some sort of blog, like you said, together, or some way to post them. But yeah, if you're looking for the recipes, the Pinterest board's going to have them listed out at least. And that might be something we can do in the future. Nicole says that you feel like you get hungry at night. Tips also, do you know roughly how many calories you eat in a day? I do not have any idea how many calories I eat in a day, and I know how tough that eating at night can be. That's something that I have been battling with. I went over this a little bit yesterday, I think, in the stream. I found that one of the things that I did have that was helping me was that I was playing video games at night for a little bit before I had my surgery. And I realized that just having that hobby got me out of the kitchen. It got me away from the pantry, or got my mind doing something else. So if you can figure out something to do in the evening that's not eating, that gets you out of the kitchen, that might help get your mind off of food. You know, maybe it's that you get into reading, or, you know, maybe doing a small exercise after dinner to kind of create a separation. The If you're into woodworking, I'm sure having like a hobby like that. I'd love to get back into tinkering with my four-wheeler, video games, you know, just something that gets you out of the kitchen, because that is where I think a lot of the problem is that you're having at night, is that you're in an environment that has food. And so if you were at home all day and you were gone at night, then you would be on here saying, I have a hard time during the day, because you're home around your food. You're not busy doing something else. You don't have work occupying your mind. You don't have something else taking you away from the kitchen. So if you can find a way to get away from your kitchen in the evening, that might help. Giving yourself a deadline, a cutoff, and saying, okay, 7:30 and the kitchen's closed, or after dinner's done, kitchen's closed. And then work really hard to string together some consistency with it. Because it's easy to do for a day, but then day 2, you start, you know, talking yourself into it, just like with the diet stuff. And so I would try to, like I said, maybe find a hobby or something to get you out of the kitchen, mind off of food, or just set a strict deadline in your mind and saying, okay, 7:30, it's done. Because a lot of times, we all have different lives, but for me, after 7:30, there's nothing I'm doing like that I need to have any more energy for. So there's no justification for me to continue to eat late in the day, because it's usually just me relaxing or watching TV after dinner. So let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Hey there, rice is overrated. You like it, but quinoa is a friend of yours. We've had quinoa quite a bit too, and that's a whole ingredient that wasn't even on the radar for me prior to starting this way of eating. That quinoa was maybe, I probably had heard of it, but it was never anything that was part of a meal. So I love that you're a big fan of quinoa. Cindy says, when eating a high volume of food, how do you stay in a caloric deficit so you can lose weight? So it's tough, and it's why I haven't lost weight faster, because I don't go into as much of a caloric deficit as maybe I could. But there's a couple things that I rely on. And one of the things that I rely on is that when you look at the calories in, calorie out model, which is mostly what people are worried about when they talk about a calorie deficit, is your calories in versus your calories out. What is not talked about is really how complex that equation is. It seems like this is equal to this, then you get the, you know, it seems like a simple calories in versus calories out. It's simple to say, but it's way more nuanced. There's so much more that goes into it than just that. And what I found is that with this diet, I can start to fudge with some of that calories in, calories out, because I know that the food that I am eating is harder for my body to absorb than the foods that I used to eat, or than a lot of the other options for foods out there. And the example I use all the time is that if I gave you 200 calories worth of corn syrup and had you drink the 200 calories worth of corn syrup, it'd probably be like a teaspoon of corn syrup, or a tablespoon of it. And your body, that would go into your system, and it would go into your digestive tract, and your body will absorb a ton of those calories. If it doesn't absorb all 200 calories, it absorbs 190 of the 200 calories. If I hand you that same calories, but in actual kerneled corn, where you have to eat like a whole handful or a bowl of corn, and you eat that bowl of corn that's 200 calories, it's the same calories as the spoonful of corn syrup. But when your body intakes that corn, it is not going to absorb all 200 calories. It's not going to absorb anywhere near as many calories as it does of the corn syrup, because it has the cell walls to deal with. It has the breaking down of the food that it has to deal with, that when you ate the processed food like the corn syrup, your body didn't have to deal with any of that. So when you eat 200 calories of kerneled corn, even if you digest a high, even if you digested 140 calories, you're still at, or 150 calories, you're still at a 40 calorie gain. Plus you had that volume of the food, as well. And so, with the calories in, calories out, I don't worry about it a lot, because I know that my body is not going to have access to every calorie that I eat. And the more I chew, the more it'll have access to that food, I suppose. But also the calories out part of that equation is that same example with the corn syrup and the kerneled corn, is that for my body to absorb that 190 calories that it got from the corn syrup, it didn't have to do any effort. It just absorbs right into my system, because it's already broken down and turned into a liquid form to my body that can just suck it up. But with that kerneled corn, my body might only absorb 150 calories, but it also had to spend 10 or 20 more calories to absorb that corn than it would have its processed alternative. So those are some of the things I try to look at when I eat my food, is that I try to eat food as close to its natural form as possible, to make it more difficult to digest, and also to make it so that my body burns more calories digesting it. It doesn't absorb as much as it does. And the food also, a part of it too, is the food will pass through your body. Even if your body doesn't have a chance to take the time to digest and process the food, if you're following it up with more food, you're going to force that through. So my body doesn't necessarily get the time to absorb all the calories in the first thing I ate, because 3 hours later, I'm pushing it through with something else I ate. So, it's kind of a long-winded example there. Let's see here. Yes, produce.pills. If I do a food library, it could be like food porn. Stephanie says that she has rice every single day, and that's awesome. We have it just about every single day. My kids probably have rice almost every single day. Between their school lunch and what we have at home, they eat rice a lot. And it's funny, we had made, or Carrie had made some white rice the other day, and my son definitely noticed the difference between the brown rice and the white rice, which I think is funny, because with my history with rice, as weird as this is that we eat a lot of brown rice now. We don't eat white rice. So I still don't really know what white rice tastes like. And I don't know the difference between the taste of white rice and brown rice, because I've never really eaten white rice. So just a weird little thing. Produce Not Pills asked here, have you ever done any little experiments like eliminating certain plant foods for a certain amount of time? Yeah. So the whole diet, this whole 297 days I'm in now, has kind of been little experiments here and there. There are foods that I have eliminated from my diet. Avocado is a food that I eliminated, just because I found that I was eating a lot of it. Like when I was allowing myself to have avocado, I was eating a lot of it. Um, the other thing that I got rid of too, and it might not seem like a big thing, but I got rid of fruit juice from my diet. There was a period of time, uh, in 2021 where I was working out a lot and I started drinking cherry juice to help with the inflammation that, or to help reduce inflammation, help increase recovery time. And while I was working out, I was able to get away with drinking that juice because it was kind of the excess calories were being negated out by the working out that I was doing. I got injured in 2021, actually the opposite arm injury of the same injury I did to my right arm. Um, but I continued to drink juice after that, and I found that I wasn't seeing results. I was having a hard time losing weight, and I got rid of juice from my diet as well. So there's been things that I've had in, had out, but not any specific experiments. And then you ask here, have you ever tried to help or turn people on this way of eating in your personal life? How did it go? Yes. I I'm not as pushy as I'm going to be, is what I'm going to say about that. I have really let people slide as far as uh, not being forceful about this way of eating. But my whole mindset with this whole process, kind of from the start, was that I wouldn't really be able to be super pushy till I get to my goal. Because to have somebody who's 283 pounds randomly come up to you and say, hey, you need to start eating plants, you're going to be like, who, this fat guy here telling me to eat plants? I don't know what he's talking about. If you know the comparison, the 520-pound version of me to the 290-pound version of me, you might more understand why I would be pitching that to you. But when I get to a healthy weight, I'm going to be not as um, diplomatic with some people, I suppose. But I haven't pushed it. But we have had my in-laws, my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, they now eat a plant-based diet and they've seen tremendous results. Both of them are as light as they've been their adult life. I think my father-in-law said that he's the same weight that he was in high school. And they've had tremendous benefits from their health. One of the reasons they were interested in it is because they had lots of siblings that they were seeing some health complications with them. They had had their own kind of little health scares. So when we started eating this way, they actually switched over about 6 months in to eating a plant-based diet. They don't eat salt, oil, sugar free, but they do eat a vegan plant-based diet, very, very little processed foods. They might go out to eat every now and then, but my like I said, both of them have lost weight. They are a healthier weight. They've very much been, toted the physical benefits, the energy. That's the word. I don't know why I was increased energy. And then I know initially my mother-in-law had complaints about rheumatoid arthritis, or that her knuckles and her hands hurt a lot because of the job that she had done her whole life. And after eating this way for a while, she started to notice some relief in the pain in her hands too from the arthritis. So a few people have switched over to this way of eating, and it's going well for them. I've not gotten anybody else that I can think of, but I know that I have people very curious. I have people that try to uh, justify what they do, but also that they're eating healthy. They're eating lots more plants because I recommend it. but they still can't get rid of those animal products, some of that processed food, because it can be tough to get rid of. Cindy says, thanks for explaining the calories in, calories out. It always confuses me regarding the absorption. Sounds like fiber and caloric density plays a part. Caloric density is 100% a part of it. It's the biggest thing. It's the biggest part of why this has worked for me is that, I put a short out today. If you saw the short, make sure you go and like and do anything you can on YouTube. But it was what it kind of sparked me to even do that, or what I was thinking about was just binge eating, and how it's they say we have this binge eating disorder, or that binge eating is a negative thing. And what I want people to understand is that it's not a disability. It's actually an ability that we have. That if we were alive 12,000 years ago, our ability to overstuff our stomach would keep us alive versus those who don't have that ability. So it's not a disability to be able to eat a lot of food. What we have to do is we have to try to stop changing our natural instincts of the volume of food that we want to eat. And we have to change the content of the food. We have to realize that we are not able to eat the foods that have this high calorie density and satisfy our natural instinct for volume and stay skinny. You have to change one of them. If you want to be skinny, you have to change either the volume of food that you're eating or the quality of food that you're eating. And I feel like we've spent years and decades all trying to change the quantity, when what we should be changing is the quality of food that we eat. You should be not eating these highly processed foods that allow you to get 2,000 calories per pound, or 15 or 1,800 calories per pound. It's not natural. There's no one of our ancestors that was running around 7,000 or 10,000 years ago that had access to any food that was 1,500 calories per pound. It didn't exist. Food that high calorie density did not exist. It doesn't exist in nature. And even the meats and the processed foods that we see now, still those wouldn't have existed in nature. The amount of fat that is that's in hamburger is an unnatural amount of fat. They breed the animals to be fatter than they would be able to be in the wild. So even the hamburger that we eat now is not the same as what our ancestors had access to. So we have to change the quality of the food, not the quantity of the food. And then Laquita says here that you eat a lot, but you focus on a lot of plant-based whole foods, I think is what you meant to say there, to enjoy large volumes and like the calories. Yes, large volumes is good. Let's see. Laquita says we work towards closer to whole than processed too. Yeah, if you can get closer to whole food than processed, I absolutely recommend it. I find that I really enjoy a lot of these whole foods, maybe even more than I did the processed counterparts. One of the ones I always get is the oatmeal that we have in the morning. We eat these oat groats and these steel cut oats, and I absolutely would eat those over rolled oat any day, or like an oatmeal that way. Produce Out Pills, did we get any pushback from the in-laws at first? No, they jumped on it. I don't know if they just saw how quickly we had seen the benefits. And we didn't have to, they don't live near us. They're actually, this is where Carrie's traveling here. They're about 4 hours away. And we did not push them on it at all. They were the ones that picked it up, and they had kind of done a Mediterranean type diet for a little bit, but I don't think that it was um, very long in before they got rid of the fish as well. And so, no, I haven't really. I mean, I'm not down there monitoring everything they eat. If they're not 100% compliant, I don't know. But from what I understand, they're doing great, and they are. Um, there hasn't been any pushback from them. You know, the thing that is like, once people decide to start eating this way, I think that, and they do it for a little while, they start to see the benefit of it. Uh, but if they're at least willing to even try it, they're not going to push back near as much as the people that fight before you even get them started. Like that's really where the frustration comes in too, is that so many times, um, all of us, anybody that's overweight, I can pretty much assume most people that are overweight have been trying to do something to lose weight. And if you've been chronically overweight like I was trying to do something to lose weight for the past 22 years. You know, I mean, there was periods of time where I was just done with it, but overall, my process was on weight loss for um 20 plus years. And I, you know, in those 20 years, I was really willing to do anything. Um, I mean, I went to, you know, I took pills to lose weight. I went to meetings. I saw doctors. I bought the gadgets, the heartbeat monitors, and um, the apps on the phone to track the food. You do all of these things, tried all of these things. But had I not found this way of eating for myself, I'd have told you to piss off. Like I would have said, there's no way I would even try to eat this way. Like, and so I understand where a lot of these people come from. Like, for me to come up and say to eat a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet, and it's going to save your life, people are going to be like, you're out of your mind. I've tried a million things to try to save my life, and eating plants is not going to be the thing that does it, until you do it. And then you kind of see the difference, and you live it. So I think most of the pushback is from people who are unwilling to consider it, or they haven't reached that point where they are willing to try anything. You know, like people say, oh, I would do anything to lose weight. All right, eat a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet. Oh, that's not possible. No, it sounds unenjoyable. Where's the joy? And I'm like, I have the most joyful life I've ever had now that I'm eating this way. Like, I do get joy from food, but I don't derive all of my joy from food. If I have a diet that is not a, 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 a 10 on the dopamine scale, it doesn't mean I'm not going to have fun in my life. Like, it's just food. So, Produce.pill says, you really wish you could help more, but you guess you really can't. A lot of people will push back and get upset when you're just trying to help them. Yes, you know, and they don't want to see it, you know. And something I've kind of said, that the best thing that I can do is be a good example, and be not just be a great example, be a perfect example. Like, if I'm a good example, eventually they're going to have to start taking it into consideration. But if I'm not a good example, or if I'm not, if I don't make it look appealing, then it's not going to look appealing, I guess, too. But yeah, you can't force. I mean, the number of times I wish that I would be able to say something I see people every single day where I look at him and I'm just like, I bet you've never even heard of a plant-based diet, because I had. I bet, like if you had any idea difference you could make in your life just by changing the food, and um but people, they don't know. They don't know what they don't know, and you can't make them see the light sometimes. Like I said, I can just be a good example, and by being a good example, I hope it rubs off on my family and my friends. And at some point, as I get closer to my goal, or when I get to my goal, it's going to be very hard to ignore. Laquita says that you're not SOS free, but you've seen tremendous improvements with whole foods and no animal products. And that's amazing. Yeah. And everybody can get away with different diets and different things. And if I wasn't, if I was at a healthy weight and it wasn't a concern for me, I don't know that I would worry about the salt, oil, sugar. I think that the oil, I think that there's not really much need for oil. Like, we cook a lot of food without any oil. We eat a lot of stuff without any excess oil. It's a lot of added calories, but yeah, if you can get away with it and you can be at a healthy weight and stay at a healthy weight, as long as you're eating a plant-based diet, I really think that makes a big difference in it. Stephanie here says that you did Nutrisystem, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, the LA weight loss programs, and until you ate a whole food plant-based diet, you are more consistent with food eating and weight loss goals. This whole food plant-based lifestyle is amazing. Yes, I love to hear it. Yes, it is amazing. How all these other programs and they worked. A lot of the programs I did, they worked in the short term. They really did, but they weren't lifelong. They weren't lasting solutions. They were quick fixes. They were band-aids to a much more serious issue. And by eating this volume, by eating a plant-based diet, I'm able to, and just it's funny, I made a comment about the joy, about how people don't see this, they look at this diet as a joyless diet. And I think about the end of all of my other diets and how there was no joy going on at the end of any of those diets. I was so beaten down. I was so worn out by trying to eat, 800 calories or 1200 calories in a day and eating the same foods. And so, like, maybe the foods that they did give me a lot of joy at first, but over time it lost its luster, and that's what I think a lot of diets do. Is at first you get joy from your diet, but over time it loses its luster. And this diet's a little bit different in that way, in that it's kind of that diamond in the rough. You don't really notice it at first, but then as you get going longer and longer and you start polishing that rock, you start to realize that there's something really there. Produce.pill says they don't know what they don't know, but they also don't want to know. And that's the bad part. Yes. And yeah, I mean, it's, and people hold on to, there's a saying too, that people, that I think Dr. McDougall says, is that, people like to hear good things about their bad habits. And so they'll hold on to these myths for a very long time, just because that justifies, it gives them a reason to keep doing what they're doing. And, but yeah, people, they got blinders on, they're ignorant to it. And it's tough to see it, but at the same time, we're all running our own race, and we got to do our own thing. Stephanie here says, like Chef AJ says, weighing and measuring is not sustainable. You totally agree. Yeah. I feel like so much of that, and it's just a little bit, but you're relying on something external from yourself to tell you when to stop eating, to tell you when to how to eat. And it's something that when I went into this whole thing that I wanted to get rid of that reliance on an external source. I didn't want to have to take a pill. I didn't want to have to go to the gym. I didn't want to have to monitor. I didn't want to have to calorie count. I wanted it to be, I wanted it to feel so much more natural. And that's what this plant-based diet has really done for me. Um, Produce Not Pills, did you ever lose a significant amount of weight being when you were bigger? I have lost a significant amount of weight 3 or 4 times as an adult. The first time I can remember was back right in college, like my sophomore year of college. I was, I don't know, 350, 360 pounds. I took a product called Advocare that was chocked full of ephedra. And while it was chocked full of that ephedra, it was an amazing product, and I lost an amazing amount of weight. I think I got down around 300 pounds at that time. As soon as the FDA stepped in, told them they couldn't sell that product that way anymore, that quit working for me. So that was a big chunk of weight back in the early 2000s. Fast forward, after I met my wife, we were trying to get pregnant, have babies. And in 2009, I lost 60, 70 pounds at the gym, doing the whatever, 5, 6 days workouts, eating 800 calories, 1200 calories a day, and doing the gym macro counting at the gym, you know, or calorie counting, things like that. After that, and I lost a good amount of weight then too. I can't remember. Probably a lot of times I lose 60 to 80 pounds. 2013, I lost a tremendous amount of weight. I had a starting weight of 415 pounds. I got down to about 290 pounds. And I was taking a product called phentermine that was prescribed to me by a doctor. Did that for about 9 months, but then the doctor was unable to continue prescribing phentermine to me. So that's when that diet ended. Gained a ton of weight back. And then in 2019 is when I did my first extended water fast, and I lost a bunch of weight doing that as well. So, so yeah, I have lost weight a lot of times. A little bit of my video yesterday actually was kind of about that. Is I think it was yesterday's video. It might have been the day before. Is that like, I'm a pro at weight loss. I'm as good at losing weight as anybody I know. I bet there is less than 1% of the whole human population that has lost the number of pounds that I've lost. What I suck at is being a healthy person. I can lose weight, but I never been a healthy person. Even when I was at my lowest weights in the past, I was not a healthy person. I was just a lighter person than before. So that's been a shift on the focus with this diet. Is not about weight loss, but actually gaining health and promoting health in myself. So, so that is, Stephanie here says, like Chef AJ says, oh, I already said that. And then Produce Pills, how long have you water fasted? So yes, you must be new to my channel. So I have done a couple extended water fasts. I started this channel with an extended water fast. My intention was to water fast through the month of November of 2020. And I actually did succeed with that. I actually got to the end of November and decided to push it a little bit longer. So the longest that I have ever water fasted is 42 days. It was a 1,000-hour water fast is what I did. And I went from 519.8 to about 430 pounds. I lost 90 pounds water fasting for 42 days. So that is the longest I've water fasted. I did do a water fast I had alluded to for I did a 30-day water fast in like 2018, 2019. That's what really got me turned on to the idea of fasting to lose weight, or the idea that humans could fast, you know, because prior to that, I was very much like most people, is if you went 3 days without food, you would die. And when I realized that was not the case, I pushed it. So 42 days. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was, I mean, there was a lot of factors. You got to be very overweight to go for a very long amount of time. You also have to be very sedentary. And to get to 520 pounds, it was a combination of me eating a lot of food and not doing a lot of activity. So I just changed the food part of my life. And I went from eating a lot of food to eating no food. And I went from being inactive to staying inactive. Because if you want to succeed with a long water fast, do not go out and start exercising. Do not think that all that energy you have on day 7 is still going to be there on day 15, because it's not going to be there. So, yes, Produce Hot Pills says most people think if you go 3 hours without food that you'll die. Yes, most people do feel like they would die. And I think that some of that too, just whatever, is because they don't eat shit when they eat. Like that you need to eat every 3 hours because you're always starving. You're always got an empty stomach. Like I could easily go 3 hours without food, because the last time I ate, I had an entire, or I had I had an entire bowl of oatmeal the last time I ate. I wasn't eating small quantities of food. I had pounds of food for dinner last night. I had pounds of potatoes for food yesterday. So I can see where people think they can't go 3 hours because they're running around nearly starving. I think that that's something that we don't appreciate enough either, is that our food system's all jacked up. You did an extended water fast, and you still walked a lot. Nothing crazy, but yeah, much better if you can rest. Yes. Have I been to the True North Clinic in California and done any of the programs they offer? No. I love the True North Clinic in California. Again, they have the Dr. Lisle, Alan Goldhamer, changed my life. So that is a bit of my story, I guess, as I was doing the water fast. No idea what I was going to do when I got done as far as diet goes. That's when I found out about the True North Clinic, read the book, The Pleasure Trap, sent me down this road that I couldn't imagine that, like, starting this channel, this was not my intention. I never intended to be sitting here doing a live stream telling people to eat plants. But after reading The Pleasure Trap, and just so much of that book resonated with me. Like, I think that it just hit the nail on the head for what I needed to see. So I read The Pleasure Trap, then I read Dr. Fuhrman's book, Eat to Live, and that's kind of where I've been. But I have not been to the True North Clinic. It would be super cool to go out there. I'm not so focused on the water fasting. When I started this channel, it was going to all be about water fasting and how I was going to use water fasting to save my life and to lose weight and all this. But yeah, it'd be amazing to go out there, at least to have a conversation with those guys, and pick their brains, because they've been doing it for years. So, but wow, guys, we went over an hour today. I appreciate you guys so much for being on the stream here and all the questions. Produce Not Pills, it was great having you on here with all your questions. Stephanie and everybody else. Cindy, always. Cindy, thank you so much for the super chat or super sticker. That was amazing. So I am gonna get out of here for the weekend. Hopefully I survive it on my own without the wife and the kids around to help me. I think I can do it. And Produce Pills real quick says, have you ever been to any plant-based conferences or met any plant-based doctors? I have not met any plant-based doctors yet. The closest I have gotten is I have been on Chef AJ's show. I was interviewed by her 2 times on her channel last year, and then I actually did like a private group interview. But I have not met with anybody. As far as any conferences, I have not been to any conferences. COVID kind of, I think, screwed up some of that. But I am going to be involved with the Truth About Weight Loss Summit. I don't know when any of that stuff comes out, but the Chef AJ's The Real Truth About Weight Loss Summit, I did a video for her, or I talked to her and did an interview for that. So I have that coming up in the next month or so. I think it's sometime next in February that they release those videos. So, but I have not been to any conferences. That would be fun to do. Again, I feel like I'm not really there yet as far as I haven't reached my goal. You know, once I get to that 218 pounds, I feel like so much of that stuff's going to change. So, thanks. Stephanie says, good luck on this weekend. Yes, I am going to survive the weekend. I have plenty of food to get through. And even if I don't, I can always bake some potatoes or throw some potatoes in the Instapot and have an easy meal very quickly. Let's see. Stephanie says how cool you love the Real Truth About Weight Loss Summits. And then Pretty Girl's Mom says, foot loose and fancy free. No wife or kids tonight. You bet. Let's bust out the, I don't even know. Probably going to bust out the video game controller. Oh, shoot. My son took this computer. Oh, we'll see what we do. I'll figure something out. So thank you guys so much for all of the support. Again, I will be, I'll manage this weekend, but I appreciate you guys so much. Cindy says the video game for hours. Yes, I'm realizing that I don't think I can do that because I play video games on my son's laptop and I think he took it with him. So, I don't have my own computer, but my son has his own laptop. How wonderful is that? So I'm out of here. If you have not subscribed to my channel, get subscribed to the channel. If you've not clicked on the bell icon to get alerted when I go live or post new videos, make sure you do that. If you have not hit the like and subscribe, I don't think I said that yet, do that. And last but not least, if you've not started your diet yet, get started right now. There's nothing going on this weekend that's more important than your health and your overall well-being. And even if you say, I'm going to start Monday, what are you doing this weekend to make Monday happen? So even if you're not going to start the food portion of your diet till Monday, start the action portion now. Start getting the food ready. Start making the recipes. Start getting the things going. Because until you start making those steps towards that, it's all just lip service. It's all just you convincing yourself that eventually you're going to start. So get started right now, guys. We will see you on Monday.